Reuters is reporting that Microsoft should expect an EU antitrust warning over the Activision deal, according to sources. Let's talk about what this means for their case and how this impacts the expected schedule we knew about already. So like I said at the beginning, this is coming from Reuters, and let's read through this story together. So basically, they think that what's going to happen by the end of January, which was the projected timeline we originally had, is that Microsoft is going to get an antitrust warning over the deal. So they're likely going to have that, and that's according to people familiar with the matter who are saying that to Reuters, and that could pose another challenge to completing the deal. The European Commission is readying a charge sheet known as a statement of objections, setting out its concerns about the deal, which will be sent to Microsoft in the coming weeks, the people said. Now, this is actually something we've known that is coming for a long time. I've gone over the schedule a few times in different videos right now, but if we hop on over to the poster, I believe it's Idas, who has been doing a great job over on Reset Era of keeping track of important dates. We always knew that the statement of objections from the EC, unless Microsoft can offer a convincing remedy package to avoid it, was coming in late January. And we should also expect potentially something from the CMA late January, early February. And then early February, we're going to get the decision from New Zealand. April 11th will be the final decision from the EC. So the fact that Reuters is reporting this is sort of just a heads up that yes, they are going to have an antitrust warning with their notice, and Microsoft will need to come up with remedies at that point for the EU to, move the deal along, so to speak. Continuing on, though, the EU antitrust watchdog, which has set an April 11th deadline for its decision on the deal, declined to comment. Microsoft said, "We're continuing to work with the European Commission to address any marketplace concerns. Our goal is to bring more games to more people, and the deal will further that goal." The US software giant and Xbox maker announced the acquisition in January last year to help it compete better with leaders Tencent and Sony. As you may know, Microsoft is currently in third place, and they've been sort of going through this whole regulatory process. The FTC is suing, and we're kind of in a holding pattern waiting for the EU and the CMA to make their statements. US and UK regulators, however, have voiced concerns with the US Federal Trade Commission going to court to block the deal. Microsoft was expected to offer remedies to EU regulators in an attempt to avert a statement of charge and shorten the regulatory process. Other sources familiar with the matter told Reuters in November. The EU competition enforcer, however, is not expected to be open to remedies without first sending out its charge sheet, although there are ongoing informal discussions on concessions, the people said. So Microsoft's already trying to work out with the EU what sort of concessions they're going to need to make to get this deal to go through the pipeline and actually get approved. They want this thing to happen as soon as possible, and they've already made concessions to companies like Nintendo and Sony about said deal. Microsoft last month reached a 10-year deal with Nintendo to make Call of Duty available on Nintendo consoles, saying it was open to a similar agreement with Sony, which is critical of the acquisition. The deal has received the green light without conditions in Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and Serbia. So overall, this Reuters article is a rather small update, but we have some reactions from people in the legal space about what this could mean or doesn't mean potentially for the case. Before we get into that, though, if you like my content, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. I'm trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. Half of you don't watch, and if you all hit subscribe, we would hit that goal today. We're at 95,000 already. So we broke through that number, and we're quickly going to hit 100K in the next few months at the longest, if not by the end of January, the way things are going. So thank you so much. Let's get back into some of those reactions. So Ida pointed out, he basically said more or less what we knew. The statement of objections coming in late January or even for early February. These are informal talks about concessions, but no formal talks until the SO is ready. So provisional findings from the CMA and the SO from EC will arrive almost at the same time. End of January, we get whatever from the EU. Early February, we get whatever from the CMA. And that's going to have a big that's going to be a big indicator about how the FTC proceeds, because Microsoft basically said, well, let's wait and see what the EU and CMA say, and we'll figure out what sort of consent decrees we end up agreeing to in this case. And potentially there could be none, depending on whatever transpires from this point forward. So nothing has really changed. The timeline's remaining the same, and likely they are going to have to make some concessions of some kind. It's going to be interesting to see what those end up being, though. I just also posted earlier that updates about the UK, Europe, China, or US, and unknown stories about the last year, negotiations with Sony and Nintendo Steam, the relationship between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard, the feedback from the industry, etc. And that's the new info that we could see this coming week. So today was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so everybody was sort of off. Tomorrow, when you're watching this, actually is like the first work day of the week. We could potentially start seeing stories as early as then about this case. Now, Windows Central also reported about this. Let's see what Sean had to say over at Windows Central. He said, a list of concerns from the European Commission will soon hit Microsoft's desk. So we're going to hear about what they're worried about in comparison to like everybody else. The same way that we got the list of concerns from the FTC, we are now going to get that from the EU. And they're going to serve an antitrust warning, and then Microsoft will have to make concessions. They're preparing a statement of objections, meaning, again, what they're concerned about. Let me zoom out just one. And then Microsoft will have a chance to come up with concessions, and then it will be finalized of April 11, 2023. I'm sure Microsoft will likely be willing to work with them. And again, they said, we're continuing to work with the European Commission to address any marketplace concerns. Our goal is to bring more games to more people, and this deal will further that goal, said Microsoft. So they still seem very confident about the deal going through. And then finally, let's see what Dom's Playing had to say about this story. Dom's Playing said, warning, Microsoft Activision Blizz tweet incoming. Report, Reuters claims that a source is saying the European Commission is planning an antitrust challenge. Could be sent in the coming weeks. I believe April 11th was the initial deadline set for the decision. It was. Source, and then the Reuters article. So not really a big reaction. I think most people are like, yeah, we sort of expected this. We know that these other territories are going to have their 2 cents that they want to throw in. But I know you love these updates. So if you do love them and want to know when they post, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell to know when they go live, because I have this goal of hitting 100,000 subscribers. Half of you aren't subs, so if you did subscribe, I would really appreciate it. So far, you guys have just been doing great. Thank you for subscribing, because we're getting ever so close to that goal. Thank you to the members for supporting me along the way. By the way, I really appreciate you saying, hey, I like your content enough to support you monetarily. If you would like to do that, you can click that join button right down there, and all these videos are posted like without ads for any member who decides to support at any level. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm going to get out of here. Before I go, though, if you want to see why I think Forza is going to be a huge game for Microsoft, you can check that out right here. You can subscribe over there. I'm going to get out of here, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.